What's going on? Welcome to today's video. This is Quamon Fowler coming to you. And on today, I'm going to talk about how to implement new things. Wanted to bring some scenarios up, both related to music and also related to life, related to your business and everything. So let's do it. Let's talk about it. All right. So here's the deal. Let's do musically first, and then I'll bring you in on some of the things that I'm going to be implementing, or you'll see me implement into my business and what I do in my life. So musically speaking, let's talk about when you have to learn something new. All right, so we hooked up yesterday, me and D'Anthony McGee. He is a fine EWI player, and we are doing our masterclass, our workshop on the Friday. We're going to be hooking up on Friday at 6:30. So if you are one that plays the EWI, or you have one and you want to get some insight on how it works and how we play it, our approach on it, you want to be on that workshop. It's going to be really fun, really good. So what I'm going to show you is my process on how I implement new things. So for instance, I actually played his song 7th Street like years back. And so we are going to do that, and then going to play it on the show that we have on the 27th at the Scat Jazz Lounge. So if you're local and you want to get tickets to that, go to scatjazzlounge.com. That's scatjazzlounge.com. All right. All right. So let's talk about it. So here's the shape. This was the idea. This is 7th Street by D'Anthony, but I want to show you something. Yeah. This is his melody. Well, I forgot that part. I forgot that part actually. I actually got to go back and listen to it. So, but anyway, so I think I got. I think that's it. But anyway, let me show you now. For you all listening, if you haven't heard that, you might think it's very complicated and everything. And so a lot of times it's always an impression that is made. Whenever you hear something that's different, or you hear something that's new, or something that is not a part of your wheelhouse, or you are processing something and you get this impression that it's complicated. Here's the deal. Initially, when we hear something, so everything that we experience when we learn something is 4 stages. I've talked about this before, the 4 levels of competence. The first one is unconsciously incompetent. So that's like you're not even aware of what you don't know. But then the second stage is consciously incompetent. That's where you are aware of what you don't know how to do. The third stage is consciously competent. That is where you know how to do whatever you're doing. You're aware of how to execute a certain thing, a task or whatever. Then the 4th level is unconscious competence. That means you're not even thinking about it. You're not really thinking about all the things that you just know how to do naturally because you put in the time. You put in the time, you put in the work, you put in the research, you put in those hours, and you're at the point of mastery. Okay, so this is something that happens in everything in our lives, right? So when you're learning a new song, you hear the intervals and you might hear that and be like, huh, what is that? What is that? But when you go uh, and look at it, so I like to talk about these three um, areas of the brain that are engaged, and that's your visual cortex, your motor cortex, and the audio cortex. Okay, so when we actually hear a shape like this, uh, you hear that, and then your ears get to wiggling. It's like, what is that? But then you actually get to thinking about it visually. What is that? Ba, da, de. That's just a triad. And then, yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm sorry. What is that? That's another triad. But it's interesting because the direction I'm seeing go up, then I'm seeing a direction go down, then I'm seeing a direction go up, but I'm seeing it go back down. I'm saying the movement of the sound, right? So it's a visual connection to that. And once you actually able to sing the notes, you can da 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 da, be bo ba 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 be da da da. Those are triads. That right there is a sus uh, sound. So it's like 1 4 5 8, and then you got that's a 6. 1 2 3 4. No, that's a flat 5. I'm sorry, I said 6. So a flat 5. So that's an interval. So what I'm doing here, I'm giving you some references to the sound. So I said visual is like I could see the direction of the shape. I imagined the direction of the shape. And then once I started singing it, um, I was able to exercise, we're talking about the sound, what it sounds like. Then when you physically, even when you physically say it with your voice, you're shaping your mouth to the syllables or your throat or whatever to make the sounds. And when I actually put my fingers on the EWI, I am tying my fingers and my placement of the keys for the different shapes. I'm applying the motor aspect to it. So you got the audio portion, you got the motor cortex, the motor portion, and then you got the visual portion. And so when you are aware of these different connections to whatever you're learning, then it helps you to retain it. All right. It helps you to, it gives your brain more of a stamp and an anchor in what it is that you're learning. So when you're learning something, that's why I always say it's very important to have a system for your learning. And so this goes really into, even when I talk about in my book, The Christian Musician. Here's a plug. So go get The Christian Musician if you haven't seen it. If you haven't read it yet, it's available on Audible. It's available as an audiobook, and it's also available as a physical book and a Kindle. You can get that just on Amazon. But I talk about how, my same approach to growing on the instrument, on the saxophone, I would apply it to other areas because this was my system. You know what I'm saying? So the mindset that you have or your unique way of thinking is your gift. Music ends up just being an avenue that the giftedness is displayed through and people get to enjoy. You know what I'm saying? Because it's my arrangement of sound. It's my choices, my leadership choices when it comes to sonic expression and songs and my feeling and everything. So, and even to put a pin there, I've learned what I've learned in these last couple of weeks has even take that to a whole nother level, just understanding more about frequencies and energy and all of that. I'm like, wow, I've been like not really knowing what I'm doing, and it's been helpful. But then once you start understanding the science behind it, and you realize that all of this stuff is stuff that God created, in us and available for us to use as resources when it comes to music and frequency and healing and all of those things. So I've gone down the what they say the rabbit trail, and I'm like, wow, this is amazing stuff. So, but anyway, before I get too out in the woods with that, let's say so we're talking about how to implement the things that you hear. And so initially you heard me play that lick, and it was like daunting. You probably was like, it sounds so complicated. But then when I told you it's just triads, and because you got, I go down to the A. I mean, yeah, on, so let's say G concert. So I got that A or the G is just a leading tone to this next shape. And then, so with something like that, once I've told you what the intervals were, or what the triad was. I'm running through this kind of fast. It's more so I want you to understand the concept more so than the actual notes that I'm going over, because if you can learn the concept, then you can apply this to everything. All right, so we move from the first the first level of competence, which was unconscious incompetence, where you didn't even know what that sound was. But then when I gave you, when I told you that it was triads, and then it was two triads, one going up, one coming down, and then we had a leading connecting note to the 1, 4, 5, 8, that suspended, and then the flat 5. That's a tritone. The interval is a tritone. So when you have that in place, then you go to the next level, the next stage, which is consciously incompetent. So now you know that you don't actually know that. But once you put it to your instrument or keyboard or whatever your instrument is, or even if you sing it, now you're actually getting a chance to retain it and get it in your system. Okay. And so once you got it, then you become consciously competent. You know how to play it. So, you know, that's it. And so from there, if you want to get to that last stage, which is unconsciously competent, where you don't have to think about it, then at that point, to get there, you would have needed to do it over and over and over and over and over and over again, so you don't have to think about it. So if I was to put it in a different key, so how do I do that? What's my process when I put it in a different key? Okay, so the problematic areas I think about. So what are the problematic areas? Okay, now go back to the beginning, what I was saying. It's all about the concept, right? What's the concept? So think about the shapes, think about the direction, what I said, visual. I went up, I went down, then I went up, and I came back down for the last interval of the tritone. Okay? So I'm a break it down like this. All right. So when I say the problematic area, first I gotta split up the shape. Ba do be dee bo do boo ba bo do be dee dot. What is that? Ba do be dee ba dee boo ba bo do be dee dot. So those are 4 different shapes, directions. The first ba bo be is going up, dee da da da. That's going down. Ba bo do dee. That's the third one. B dot. That's the 4. That's just 2 notes. D dot. So that's just an interval. So I need to know what's the connection in between those 4 shapes, right? So if I say, all right, so that's just 1, 3, 5. The next one is 1, 3, 5, but what is that It's just ba-do da da. That's a half step. So that half step down becomes the 5-3-1. And then I need to go down to a half step below the next shape that's going to go back up. So so my distance from that last note to the next, that pickup, is a whole step. So that's my connection to the third lick. All right. So that's, and then the next one is easy because you just go down a half step and you play the tritone. See right there? Okay. So, all right. So when I think about it like that, now I can play it in any key. So let's say if I say F sharp. Now we're going to play that same idea. That's it. So I was able to play it because I thought about it. You know, I didn't. I would. I won't say I necessarily heard it. I hear it. When I say I hear it, let me give you some understanding. So this is one of those licks where it takes you outside of a tonal center. You know what I'm saying? So sometimes if you're going to change keys to a new key, you probably won't hear it off the bat, but you got to use the formula. You got to use your system in order to be able to push the right buttons, to play the right notes if the audio part is not working. So I'm saying if you're not hearing it, then use the visual and use that to help you know what to play physically. But once you got it under your fingers, then you can play it over and over so you don't have to think about it. So in G sharp, initially I had to think about it. All right. Now I'm hearing it. I can't do it that fast. That's the vibe. That's but I'm in F sharp, so I can't really play it that fast. All right, so let's go to another key. Let's go to D flat. That's it. I had to think about it. I don't have it under my fingers yet, so I'm not at the point. Now I'm consciously incompetent. So I can change keys. So check this out. As I'm thinking about it, you hear me slow down, right? Because I had to think about it because I'm paying attention to the shapes that I'm actually playing. And remember I said the directions, the four: up, down, up, down. Okay? And so I'm thinking about that. I'm thinking about connecting the different shapes. But here it is. I am also starting to hear it now because what happens is the more you play it, the more you hear it, and then the more you hear it, the more you can actually play it. Your fingers, though, on saxophone or EWI, every key is different, so it feels different. That gets me right there because I start a pattern of playing two arpeggios, but the third one is not an it's a 1-4-5-8 type shape. That's the shape, right? Okay. All right. So Let's do. That's the whole thing. That's like. Uh, uh, yeah. Let's see what we can do. So what I was gonna do, I got sidetracked. I ended up playing all of that. I didn't. I went away from my train of thought. So what I was gonna say is, so with that first part of that lick or the melody, I got that part. If I put it in a different key, you can see what the process is. So the whole point is implementing something new. When you have it in the original key, because I can play this one and it feels good. I can play it with a beat and everything. I'm kind of getting close to that point of being unconsciously competent. I don't have to think about it. So let me put it on a groove that's fitting for this particular um, lick melody. Okay. And I'll keep the drum kind of low. I know last time it was kind of loud. Is that all right? Is this loud enough? I don't know if the EWI is loud enough. Ah, 1, 2. That's the lick I need. That's it. Anyway, so now I've implemented the song into my system. I got it under my fingers. I went through the process of thinking about it, um, seeing it visually, actually hearing it, and figuring out those shapes. And I put it in a few different keys, and I put a drum loop down, and I start playing it, and grooving with it. So, all right, so this is good, good stuff, good concepts, and good things systematically to be able to use when you're learning things. Okay, and so sometimes to apply it to other areas in our life when it comes to spiritual things or when it comes to business decisions and stuff that you need to decisions you need to make and things changes you need to change. I'm gonna turn this off because it's real loud. If you got a system of how to uh, apply what you're learning, the system is more important than actually um, all of the things that you want to accomplish. So what I mean by that, let's say for instance, with all of this stuff that I've been learning about frequency, I basically have learned that the tuning system that I'm used to, that you're used to, is not the tuning system that the the planet is in tune with, or God put in place for us to be synced with. So that's pretty big. That's a big shift and change when you start going and researching the tuning system and all of the stuff that's tied to certain frequencies, 528 and 432 and 444, the key of David when he played his lyre, and you start thinking about the Levites and the understanding that they had when they played and they set the atmosphere for the worship. And you start to thinking about these things from a frequency standpoint, and then you think about what we're used to today. It's a tuning system that's different. And with all of that I'm learning, I'm like, oh my goodness. So I gotta create music that's lining up with these particular frequencies. So, but my point to connect this. So how am I going to implement this? So I'm reading more and more stuff, good references, so I can give you some stuff to check out. One I started with was The Sound of Healing by Michael Terrell. And then, of course, you'll find stuff when you get to looking on the internet for it. You'll find stuff about from Dr. Leonard Horowitz. And so he has one called a really good book. It's thick, but it's a lot of good stuff in there about healing codes for the biological apocalypse. That's some heavy stuff. I was listening to something from him about 528 hertz yesterday, and so I've been playing 528 hertz more and more. And so I was just thinking, man, I got to start applying this stuff. And so once I started digging into this stuff, of course, the rabbit hole is deep, and it's a thing where it'll challenge everything that you are used to. But the thing about it that's ironic, we use our voice um, to send messages, and we have energy, we have frequency, and our heart and soul goes into music, and people like yourself and others connect with certain music because they resonate with that. So I've learned so much about just these principles in physics, quantum physics. It's just like prayer, just the same way we can pray for somebody, and even though they might not be close to us, our prayers are still will still reach them, and they'll be benefiting from the prayers of other loved ones, And we think about this, and we don't really think about it. We don't think about it from a scientific standpoint. I think just because we don't see it and you can't hear it, a lot of times people just think, people, especially ones who are not believers, they just think that stuff, oh, that's just not real. But it's real enough to where I've been able to demonstrate sending frequency from a silicone wristband to somebody in Maryland, to somebody in California. And I've demonstrated that here live on my stream. So this stuff is real if you're aware of it or not. Like, we can't see Wi-Fi, we can't see our cell phone signal or internet, signal, but we're affected by it. It's in the air, it's all around us. Well, just the same way as us being living human beings, we have a spirit inside of us, a soul. So everything in us has a frequency. We're alive. And so, but anyway, I'm just bringing up all of this stuff because I'm learning. My whole world is like, it's like a whole new light I'm seeing, from discovering all of this stuff about frequency. And it's stuff that we've been doing and really taking for granted, especially as musicians. We play and affect atmospheres all the time. And so some stuff you're just not ready. You're not ready to receive. We are music therapists, and we transform atmospheres, or we set the tone for certain fruit. They like my uncle Will Ford would talk about, influence, created for influence, and he would talk about how an atmosphere, in a certain atmosphere you have, you're able to get certain fruit in a certain atmosphere. Fruit. You talk about strongholds, a certain climate, and something that's sustained over a certain time. You'll have certain fruit and things like that that will come. That's easier to get in certain places. Like if you go to Florida, you can get good apples. I mean, not apples, oranges. You know what I'm saying? Because of the climate. You know what I'm saying? It'll be hard to grow oranges here in Fort Worth or something, DFW. But it's a lot to this stuff. And today's topic was just how to implement new things that you learn. And so the whole point is not to be overwhelmed by all of the information, because yes, it's a lot. It's a lot to learn about all these different frequencies, about all of the sacred geometry that connects itself to creation. This is God's stuff. That's the thing that's amazing. Like, this is all God's creation. I mean, he everything he did was intentional, was on purpose, the way he created us. And so we're learning more and more and discovering stuff that is like thousands and thousands of years old. But we just wasn't ready to see it or receive it like how we are now. So we grow and mature more so and more so. And here it is, the thing about it, I don't want to go down the rabbit hole or go on a tangent unless y'all just want to hear it. But we have examples, and we see the examples of people using frequency, using music and stuff the wrong way. But we need to also, understand that if there's a wrong way, then there's a right way, and once we lock into are made aware of the right way, then we need to lock into aligning ourselves with doing things the right way. And so, but yeah, I'm just saying, implementing this stuff. I'm going to be doing more music where I'm going to use different frequencies that align with the older or the more the tuning system that is in line with God's original frequencies, and not the ones that have been changed. So just a nugget for you all. Joseph Goebel was one that I believe the Rockefellers had him to help to implement the standardization of this tuning to go to 440. And I heard something really interesting. The quote, it talked about pretty much it went from being music for the soul to music for the ears. It's like you hear it, but it doesn't benefit you the same like it did before, because they change when you alter the tuning system. It it affects the whole mathematical equation, and the resonance it doesn't line up the same, so it creates chaos. So 440, before that, it was 432. And David, they say, you know, in the Bible was like 444. And when he played, he was able to play, and the evil spirit that Saul had was able to be cast out. So this is some deep stuff, but just wanted to drop a little bit about that, and let y'all know about it. So, all right, so really back in. So, but yeah, so take the concepts that I shared today about how to implement um, new things, how to learn new things. And so the whole point is take the concept or listen to what it is. And so what I do daily to practice, or even learning new things, I read or listen to it over and over. The more I hear it, the more I understand. And these are biblical principles right there. It's like faith comes by hearing, and hearing by the word of God. The more you hear the word of God, the more your faith will get stronger. And you'll be able to walk with confidence because you believe, because his word keeps reinforcing that he's there. He's with you every step of the way, and it becomes more apparent, and then as you look back in hindsight, you'll see all the things that God has taken you through or carried you through because you were walking in faith. So, and it's so funny because it lends itself really easily to music and being a musician, because we hear melodies. We hear melodies. You there? Okay. Oh, okay. I turned this off. So yeah, we hear melodies, and we're inspired when we hear the whole song a lot of times in our head. And that's like faith. We see the end of a thing, and we believe to get to the end of the thing, whether it's your healing, whether it's a situation in your life, your family, something you want. Well, if you believe it, then you move on it and you act like it's already done, it's completed. And so what ends up happening in a musical sense, we create what we imagine. So I sing it, like what I do, sing it into my voice memo, and then I'll get to my DAW, and I'll, outline the song and put instruments to it. Then later I'll send it out. Once it's completed, I'll send it out to my musicians, and then they'll be inspired, and their faith will light up because I'm illustrating what it is, and it's connecting with their spirit, their soul. And if they are resonating with it, or they feeling it, they seeing it, of course they're going to put their heart and soul into it, and then boom, I bring it to pass, and then we put it out there, and people around the world are affected from something that was once just in my imagination. What does that sound like? That sounds like creation. That sounds like in the beginning, God created the heavens and the earth. He formed man from the dust of the ground. So he had an idea, and then he spoke it, and he created it. You know what I'm saying? Like with his mouth, he created it. And so that's what we do. He's created us in his own image and likeness. So we have the same ability. And so don't do yourself a disservice by not believing and receiving that. I think that's really the key to learning anything and implementing any new thing. You got to know who you are, you know what I'm saying, and who you were created to be. And we're creative beings, and we're always uh, it's always information and new things that's out there for us to learn and grow, because we have so much more to create and share with the world, to enlighten others and be a light in the dark world in the midst of so much garbage and noise. That was another thing. Um, you know, he was talking about a no, like being tuned in to a station, whereas you got noise in between. When you're not tuned to the right station, you get a lot of crackly noise. But once you're tuned into the right station, it's a clearer signal. And so a lot of us, we're watching too much stuff on Instagram and TikTok and YouTube. We got so much noise going on, we can't hear clearly. And so we're not making progress because we're not tuned into the right sources. We're not tuned into the right station. And so I was thinking about all of this stuff, man, and I was like, wow. So even for me, I got to tune into his voice and see and hear what he's giving me, and I have to implement it. And so you can't implement when you got a lot of noise. So in your mind, even fear will happen, or fear will, like, remember in the beginning I was talking about impression. So that can be an impression of something that is too deep, too complicated, too hard for you to do. But it's a lie, because actually once you start looking into it, you'll see, oh, this is okay. All I got to do is just read 15 minutes a day, or all I have to do is practice, like 30 minutes a day on this, or all I need to do, you know what I'm saying? It's like just simple things that you could do to implement um, the new things that you're learning without it being so overwhelming. But it's because we go places in our head that keeps us at a standstill, because we're intimidated by what could be behind that door if we open it. Whereas if we just see it for what it is, and we like, okay, well, it's another opportunity to learn. And every time we learn something new, it's neuroplasticity. It's like we change our brain chemistry, and so our brain is never the same. We're always learning and hearing different things, new things, and the way we're processing it and putting it together, it's helping us to continually be um, sharp. And it's fun to learn new tunes. It's fun. It's good food for thought. It's fun to learn and read new concepts, and all of that really helps you. The brain is good medicine, food for the brain and your soul, and it helps with longevity as well. So never cut yourself short and get intimidated from learning something new, and implementing the things that you learn. Okay. Now, in terms of your process and how you do it, everybody's different. Everybody has a different process. But all I'm saying is know your process. Your process might be different from mine, but the principle is still the same. You need to implement or know how to implement new things that will be beneficial for you and your life. You know what I'm saying? Okay, so I think that's good. Hopefully this was helpful, and we're going to keep it going. That's all I got for now. But thank y'all for watching, and we will see you on the next one. Okay. Make sure y'all sign up if you're an EWI player and you want to learn about it. This Friday, we're doing my workshop. Workshop.TeXas10er Academy.com. Okay, peace.